A quote from Jason Blum, founder of Blumhouse Productions, the production company that produced Fantasy Island, the feature that I'm about to review. When I watched Fantasy Island as a kid, the TV show, I remember there being a really dark, creepy element to the show, and I loved the idea of leaning into that and making a movie that emphasized just the scary part. I'm still waiting on the scary part, Jason. Hello everyone, welcome to the Hack Shack right here in Los Angeles. My name is Johnny and I support horror. Sorry about my outburst a few seconds ago. I feel much better now. Today I'm going to be taking you on a trip to Fantasy Island, the feature film reboot of the popular 1970s show Fantasy Island. It felt more like a nightmare than a fantasy, but let's talk through it, shall we? Blumhouse's Fantasy Island is written and directed by Jeff Wadlow and also has Jillian Jacobs and Christopher Roach attached as writers. Wadlow also wrote and directed Blumhouse's Truth or Dare from 2018 and brought on Jacobs and Roach as writers as well. Fantasy Island follows 5 people who won a trip to the island through a contest. Supposedly, this island has mystical powers that will make anyone's fantasy come true. Each individual has their own fantasy they want to see played out during their stay. For example, Melanie, played by Lucy Hale, wants to take revenge on someone that bullied her throughout her youth. There's also a pair of goofy brothers that want it all, a woman who wants a second chance at love, and so on. Upon arrival, they meet Mr. Rourke, played by Michael Peña, who oversees the island and its fantasies. Now, there is one important thing that Mr. Rourke tells all the guests, and he keeps repeating it throughout the movie. Once the fantasy starts, our guests must see them through to their conclusions. So the fantasies start playing out for our guests, and as the old adage goes, be careful what you wish for. Now, before we get into my likes and dislikes of this movie, I just want to say that the 10 plus years that Blumhouse Productions has been in business, they have produced some monster hits. I am a legit fan. For example, Paranormal Activity came out in 2009 and it was just such a smash hit. The budget was $15,000. It grossed over $193 million. Blumhouse also produced the Insidious franchise, The Purge, Creep, Happy Death Day, Hush, and you know what? The list just goes on. I love a good Blumhouse horror movie when it is a horror movie. To be fair, Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You aren't exactly horror films. I guess you could call them light horror. They're thrillers, but they are so much fun. I loved them both. I wasn't sure what to expect with Fantasy Island. I was just hoping for something good. So let's talk about what I liked about it. I appreciated the fact that the budget was only $7 million. I was surprised to hear that the estimated budget was only $7 million because it just looked like such a bigger movie on screen. So Blumhouse did a job well done for how little it costs. I'll give them that for sure. I also like some of the humor from Brax and Bradley, the goofball brothers whose fantasy was to just have it all. The way that they acted and some of their cheesy dialogue kind of made me laugh and shake my head a bit, but it was all in good fun. I also simply just liked the idea of the story. Having 5 fantasies play out, knowing that they're all going to turn sour at some point, and I appreciated that they tried to intertwine all of them together. That part I thought was clever, but the execution of all of that missed the mark, in my opinion. First of all, I couldn't tell what I was supposed to feel while watching this film. What was the overall tone? It felt comedic at times, literally and ironically. When they attempted to be lighthearted and dramatic, it just came across as silly to me. I guess you could call it a thriller? I'm sorry, but I miss the thrills. Ugh, I'm such an asshole, I know, I'm sorry. But even the marketing of this was very confusing. If you go to IMDb, it lists Fantasy Island as adventure, comedy, horror. Wikipedia, I know, not a very great source, but Wikipedia calls it supernatural horror. Google says fantasy mystery. Metacritic calls Fantasy Island an adventure, mystery, horror, comedy. That's a lot of genres. But you see where I'm going with this. When you roll all of those genres into one, you tend to dilute the overall tone of the movie. Another thing I thought was messy was when they bounced around to all the different fantasies while slowly trying to make them intertwine. The problem was, at least for me, the dots just didn't connect, and I think I know why. I was reading an article in the LA Times about the writing process of this feature, Fantasy Island. So director, writer, producer Jeff Wadlow brings on his screenwriting team, Jacobs and Roach, and they approach this writing process like a TV writer's room. Okay, let me read for you a couple quotes from that LA Times article. So Wadlow, the director, says, "We do outlines like writers on TV, and then we sign acts like they're individual episodes." So Christopher Roach, the other writer, comes on and says, "We all sat together sort of like a think tank and talked about all the things we wanted to see in a Fantasy Island movie." I think I already see the problem. Too many hands in the cookie jar, right? And you know Jason Blum probably had his ideas too. Maybe I'm totally wrong here, but having a big think tank like that just seems like a recipe for disaster. Whatever happened to just having one nerd write the script alone in his or her house or hunched over a laptop in Starbucks and just deliver the script to the studio? I just like saying that because I went to school for film and screenwriting. I am that nerd. And I'm doing just fine, you know? I have a YouTube show. The last thing I'll say I didn't like about this film before I trash it too much, I hate trashing on films, are the Scooby-Doo-like twists at the end. They really shoehorned those twists in at the end, and it just kind of seemed like a silly episode of Scooby-Doo. You know what I'm talking about, like when they unmask the costumed villains at the end of the episodes. Okay, enough trashing this film. I hate being too negative. My final thoughts on Fantasy Island are this. It's a mystery adventure action film with just a little bit of horror and thriller sprinkled in. While I admire the concept and all the creative people involved, the execution of it all just didn't deliver for me. Would this be a fun movie to watch with a date over drinks and just not expecting a lot out of it? Yeah, I think so. I'm still a fan of Blumhouse. I'm looking forward to more flicks from them in the future, but I probably won't be watching Fantasy Island again. Now, if you liked Fantasy Island, please let me know in the comments. I'm always interested in what you have to say. I'm open-minded, so go ahead and leave a comment. And let's be friends to the end, people. You know you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram @TheHorrorHack. My name is Johnny. Keep supporting horror, and this has been one hack of a show.